Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 Community Foundation for Northern Virginia's grant webinar. We are very excited to have everyone join us this morning. And just a couple of housekeeping notes. Please submit your questions to us through the Q&A box during this webinar, and we'll respond to questions at the end of the program. My name is Sari Raskin. I welcome all of the people who have applied or all the organizations who have attended webinars in the past, and to all of our new people, welcome to the webinar. I'm Sari Raskin. I'm the Vice President of Grants and Community Leadership at the Community Foundation, and I will be joined by my colleague Jennifer Cochran, who's our Manager of Grants and Scholarships, and unfortunately Richard Pineda, who's the Chair of our Grants Committee and on the Community Foundation's Board of Directors, isn't able to join us today, but he sends his regards and looks forward to hearing about this wonderful process and the impact that we're going to be making in 2023. So today's presentation is going to be focused on our community investment funds, our Ross Roberts Fund for the Arts, and our Environment Fund. So just some background about the Community Foundation. We were founded in 1978, and so we're going to be 45 years old this year, which is very exciting. We manage around $80 million in total assets. We have about 250 donor advised funds. And this past year in 2022, the Community Foundation awarded more than $7 million in grants and scholarships. And our permanent fund for Northern Virginia, which is our endowed fund, which will hopefully have funding for the long term into the future, we have more than $25.6 million in current and planned gifts. Also, a little background about who we are. For those of you who are new to us, we are a 501c3 public charity like all of you. We have multiple donor advised funds, as I mentioned, and we help our donors find the causes and fund the causes that they care about. We are an unrestricted fund developer to meet community needs, and you'll be hearing more about how we're making our funds as unrestricted as possible, especially in this year's process. We are a geographically focused grant maker, and we, I think, spend a lot of time getting to know a lot of the nonprofits in our communities and meeting with residents in our communities through all of you, actually through all of you, and basically we become, I hope, experts on local needs and resources as well. So our mission is, and this is our board just voted actually at the end of 2022 on our new mission statement, which we're very, very excited about, which is to advance equity across Northern Virginia through philanthropy and community leadership. And we define, I'm going to go back and come back, but basically our community leadership is defined through our 4 strategic pillars. And our strategic pillars are social and economic mobility, as you can see, which is ensuring equitable opportunities and upward mobility for all the residents in our region, support racial justice and equity, supporting policies and programs that seek to eradicate systemic racism, inclusive economic growth, increasing access to resources for minority-owned and led businesses throughout Northern Virginia, and community resilience, which actually this community investment fund is very central to community resilience and that pillar, helping the region adapt and transform in the face of change, uncertainty, unpredictability, and surprise. And the idea is that the community investment fund will always be there now and also with the permanent fund into the future. And that's where that fits. We look at our community leadership and these pillars kind of in 3 different buckets. Our grant process, which is what you're all interested in, our events, which we hope you attend, and through Insight Region, which is our data and research center. So to provide data about the needs in our region into community to help you with your case statements, but also with our donors to educate them about what the needs are in our communities. And if I can go back, oh, and all of this, by the way, is on our website. We encourage you to look on the cfnova.org website to learn more about our pillars, learn more about our strategic planning process, and how we came to our new mission statement. I also want to mention quickly, because I want to specify what our geographic area is. And so we're in Arlington, Fairfax, Loudoun, and Prince William counties, and the cities of Alexandria, Fairfax, Falls Church, Manassas, and Manassas Park. So some new highlights for 2023. So one, the Latino Engagement and Achievement Fund was a Fields of Interest fund, a donor advised fund, field of interest run by a group of donors that basically has now been folded into the community investment fund process. So I'll be discussing in a few moments the focus area, but just know that that has been now added to the CIF process this year. I'm also thrilled to announce that we have raised the minimum amount from $10,000 to $15,000 per grant, and that finally we are moving to pure general operating grants. We want you to know as the nonprofit partners in our region that we trust you and that we know that you know what you need, and we want to create a flexible funding opportunity for you. So all of that to say, and I'll be explaining a little bit more about the funding amounts that we are going to be talking to you about and asking you to present to us what your needs are and that what would be most beneficial to your organization from a funding perspective. So another highlight I wanted to mention is Insight Region. Many of you may have heard and learned about Insight Region over the past year, but we are very excited because Insight Region is continuing to produce reports and data that is necessary for us to do our job better, but also to educate the community about what the needs are, as I mentioned earlier. And another thing that it's done is it's helped us redo our application this year a little bit more around being more succinct, more thoughtful, especially around a data section, which you will see within the application, which will help us, again, understand the community that we're serving and do a better job at helping you do that well. So for 2023, the spring grant opportunities are under the Community Investment Fund, as I mentioned, in those categories. And again, all of this is on our website as well, and you can read about the specific focus areas. I will also be going through them very quickly, but again, our website is a perfect resource, great resource for you. The Environment Fund is going to be running a process, and the Ross Roberts Fund for the Arts will be doing one as well, similar to last year. So often nonprofits ask us, okay, how can we get engaged in the Community Foundation? How do we meet you? How do we meet donors? It's always been our question. So for those of you who are new to us, we have historically, the past couple of years, we've done first Tuesday meetings with individual nonprofits. For the first half of 2023, from now until June 30, we will be continuing our first Tuesday meetings. Unfortunately, they are all full at this point. There's a short waiting list, but we cannot accept additional names. However, beginning on July 1, I'm excited to announce that the Community Foundation will be moving into a new physical space, and we will be offering new opportunities for nonprofits to connect with us and to our donors. So stay tuned, but that is a new development, and we will be thinking differently, but hopefully in the same way, impactfully, of how nonprofits have an opportunity to meet with us and our donors. Another way to engage and get involved with us is attend our conferences and events. And in February, we will be hosting and launching our next Insight Region report, again, around mental health, which is the focus for 2022. And it will be, the title of the new report that will be launched will be The Shape of Youth Mental Health, Finding a Way Back from Sadness and Stress for Northern Virginia's Teens. So stay tuned, there'll be an event announced probably in the next week or so. And then in March 2023, I'm thrilled to announce that our next Shape of the Region conference will be focused on aging in Northern Virginia. So stay tuned, and I'm sure for all the organizations that are meeting the population of the aging population and the older adult population in our region, I'm sure you will be thrilled to know that we are focusing on this topic more because, similar to mental health, we realize it's really important for the Community Foundation to really be the voice to raise up issues that are not necessarily being as highlighted as other issues. And so we're excited about the opportunity to really present to the region what the needs are and opportunities are for the future of getting older in Northern Virginia. So quickly, an overview from 2022. We gave out over $613,000 to 51 nonprofits. As you can tell, it was as competitive as usual. 42 out of 148 applications were funded for CIF. 7 out of 38 applications that were submitted were funded for Ross Roberts, and 2 out of 12 applications for the Environment Fund were funded. Again, every year we've successfully been giving out more dollars, and this year will be no different. Thankfully, we have a nice pool to start with, but as usual, it is a very competitive process. The 2023 criteria, similar to last year, except for one major change. So one, applicants must be 501c3s. Grant requests, though, this year will not be either program or general operating support for CIF. For CIF, it's only general operating. For environment and arts, they can still be program or general operating, but again, for CIF only general operating. Applications for capital improvements, endowments, or scholarship awards will not be considered. We have a scholarship program, so we invest our funding into scholarships through that program and then focus on organizations. And then grants will be made to organizations in the areas that I mentioned earlier, geographically, one application per applicant. What that means is that if you are applying within the CIF, you cannot apply for environment or arts, and you can only apply for one fund within the CIF. So we hope that you will, this is always a question, but unfortunately you can only apply for one within one fund. Late and incomplete applications will not be considered as usual. So quickly, I'm going to run through the different focus areas and what funding we have available. And so not only have we raised the minimum from 10 to 15,000, but I'm thrilled to announce that we're giving out some larger grants as well this year. And we're also continuing to be a little creative around the arts fund. I'll explain that in a moment. So first, the aging fund. Similar to in the past, organizations or programs that help the older adult population age in place. The grant amount is a one grant of 35,000 over a 2-year period. And the Child and Youth Development Fund, similar to in the past, also after school summer activities, academic achievement. There'll be multiple grants of the minimum of 15,000. Our new IDD fund, which we're again very excited about, last year was our first year. This is our second year. It will be focused on job training for individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities. There'll be one grant of 15,000 this year. Again, as I mentioned, the Latino Engagement and Achievement Fund. This is a new fund that will now be part of CIF, focused on civic education, English proficiency education, community engagement initiatives targeting Latino communities specifically. And there'll be one grant of 15,000. The Education Fund, as in the past, multiple grants, of course, of 15,000 this year in early childhood, English language proficiency for adults and children, workforce development and skill-based training. Mental health, once again, I'm thrilled to announce that we'll have a grant, a large grant of 25,000, very broad, and that it will provide mental health support and services to vulnerable populations. Military personnel and their families, similar to in the past, emergency assistance and workforce development, job training, a grant amount. There'll be 2 grants of 17,500 each. Next, our Lamont Fund for Children and Youth. So in the past, we talked about this fund. It's specifically focused on children and youth in the city of Alexandria and in Fairfax County South and west of the city of Alexandria along the Route 1 corridor. It's a broad fund, as usual, as you can see by the list of focus areas. But in 2023, preference will be given to organizations thinking creatively about one of our pillars that I just outlined, social and economic mobility of children and families along the Route 1 corridor, and as I've described. So the grant amount, we have $60,000 to grant, and we're going to be giving out 2 grants of $30,000 each. The Safety Net Fund is our housing focus, eviction, foreclosure assistance fund, non-food, unfortunately, but focused on housing. And again, multiple grants of $15,000 each. Our Environment Fund is back, which is great. And again, the Environment Fund, we really are looking for organizations that are collaborating or will be collaborating with a government entity and offer an education program in one of the areas that are listed. And the Ross Roberts Fund for the Arts, I'm thrilled to say that once again, our donor has come through and we are going to be offering grants at through a tiered funding model based on budget size. The feedback that we received last year was so great, and it sounds like it really finally gave an opportunity to organizations who historically have not been funded by us to apply and get grants. And we're looking forward to once again creating opportunity for accessibility to our grants. And if I can mention one thing about that, we are working really hard, more than ever before, to be accessible to organizations who have not historically had access to us. So we are trying our best to promote this opportunity to the community. And if you know of organizations who don't know about us, if you could promote this opportunity and these opportunities as well, we would really appreciate it. So quickly, the grants process for this year is similar to in the past. We'll be doing a staff screening of the initial applications just to make sure that there are 501c3s, and then also to do charity checks and make sure that everything, your information is in the system and has been approved as a 501c3. We will do what we have done in the past. Also, we have issue area experts, community leaders, and donors who serve on the committee. We are working really hard again in this way by creating a committee that really represents the community that we're trying to serve within our work. So we are making an intentional effort to reach communities and actually reach people who are in community to help serve on the review committee. We hope that it is fair and an unbiased and informed process. We'll be using the online review tool and the online tool that we've always used, Foundant, and then we'll have our final review committee. And as usual, we will be asking our volunteer committee members to include as many comments and score within their to explain their scores, so that we can then give you feedback to give you an idea of how to improve your application for the future for us, but also for others. So we look at it as almost hopefully as a capacity building opportunity for you within your organization from a fund development perspective. Now I'm going to pass it on to Jennifer Cochran, who will explain the Foundant system and a little bit more about our new and improved application. Jennifer.
Thank you, Sari. As Sari mentioned, we utilize a tool named Foundant for our grant application process. So you'll see here, this is the link to apply and log in to access the grant application. But you can also access a link to the application on our website. So if you go to cfnova.org and you look for grant application portal, you can just click on that button and it'll take you to the grant applications. With this tool, it does work best with Google Chrome as your browser. So make sure that you're using Google Chrome. And it does help to look at the tutorial ahead of time. The tutorial link here will just walk you through some of the tips and tricks for how to use the tool. And then as Sari mentioned, for the 2023 applications, so the arts application is similar to what it was in 2022, as well as the environment application. Most of the changes you'll see is if you're applying in the community investment fund category, as Sari mentioned, we moved to a general operating focus. And so the application you'll see is more streamlined. You'll see things asking again about your mission and how your organization meets community needs. And you'll see some brief response areas for inputting your organization's results and impact. And then the 2023 schedule. So the application is open now. If you need assistance finding login information, if you're unsure if your organization has an account, you can ask us if you need assistance with login. But the application is open now. It is open through Thursday, February 2nd. It closes at 5 p.m. We ask that by that time, all applications be completed and submitted. We do not accept late or incomplete applications. February through March are, as Sari mentioned, the Volunteer Grants Committee. That's when they conduct their evaluation of the applications. And then in April, the grant awards will be announced. And then with any of our awardees, we always ask for a follow-up report. So that would be due from any awardees next February of 2024.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. So I also just wanted to quickly mention that I'm thrilled to say that we have a staff person at the foundation, Moses Ulam, who's going to be a great additional resource, especially when helping all of you get access to your profile and Foundant, or ask them questions about before you submit your applications, or if you're having some difficulties. So Moses, we're thrilled to have you join us as part of this team as we move into the 2023 grant process. So with that, I'd love to let people know that if you have any questions, please include them in the chat and we will try to answer them as best as we can. I will also say that Jennifer and Moses and I are here for you to help you out as you are starting to begin your applications, or if you have questions or difficulties, please know that we're all here to support you in this process.
Great. Hello, everyone, and I'm Tara Nadell, and I am going to be going through the questions that you've submitted through the Q&A. So please do continue to submit those if you have them. I'm also going to try to group them a little bit so that we're answering some together here, but we'll just kind of go through them now. So the first is just to confirm that this is being recorded, and we will send the recording, we will send the slide links, so you will get all of that afterwards for review, and also to share with anyone on your team who might be doing the applications themselves or in partnership with you. So some of these have already been answered, as I said, but we're going to go through and just make sure it's all clear. So there were a couple of questions around organizations who support community across the Commonwealth located outside of our region. And so specifically in the past, they may have applied to us for a program that was located in Northern Virginia. And there are questions around whether that they're still able to apply in that case.
If you are serving Northern Virginia, then yes, you are able to apply. There will be opportunity within the application to specify what your program, how the funding for general operating will impact the program that you are offering here in our region.
Great. And I'll go through these. Some of them were very specific to populations that you're serving. So you can certainly reach out for the contacts on the screen here as well for specific questions. There were some questions again around just a clarification around the minimum amount available. And so if you could just reiterate how funding is across the different cycles we're offering now, what are the amounts and where to find that?
Right. So actually, when you we will list them if they're not already. They're on our website. But the minimum, as I mentioned, is for the multi grants in those areas like child and youth development and education, for example. The minimum is $15,000, but as you have seen that there are larger grants available in some of the other areas. So I would look at them on the website where we listed what the available amounts are.
Perfect. We had a couple of questions about being on our contact list and getting updates about those one-on-one nonprofit meetings and or the new types of meetings that we're going to have. And Alex, thank you for responding here with our link to our contact page. There is a place to sign up there and to indicate a nonprofit interest, which we encourage you to do. But everyone who has registered and attended this event today, we're also going to make sure that you're on our nonprofit mailing list to get those moving forward. So, so please note that. Okay, let me go back up to the top of this list. And again, please do continue to send those questions in. Okay. Does general operating mean not program, or does it mean it can be program or non-program?
It is whatever you need it for. So if you tell us within the application that you're going to be using your general operating grant for this program, that's acceptable. Again, it's based on, we're trusting you to tell us what you need.
Great. Will the Ross Roberts Fund accept applications for both operational and program?
Yes, it will.
Okay. All right, going through the list. I think some of these we've already addressed. There's a question specifically about the Latino Engagement and Achievement Fund, which may have at one point indicated that it was focused on the Route 1 corridor. Does that mean other Northern Virginia regions should not apply?
No, so Latino Engagement and Achievement Fund is actually open to any organization in the region. It's not geographically restricted.
Great. Okay, and again, a confirmation on the only one application question. Our organization can only apply to one of the three opportunities, CIF, Ross Roberts, or environment.
Correct.
Okay, I'm coming across a couple of specific questions. I will ask them here, but maybe we can also just address again how to reach out with specific questions about
Yes.
where might be a best fit. So this one is about a music therapy program. Would it be appropriate for the mental health fund?
So I think you have to look at the criteria and look at the description and see where you are where your organization or your mission most aligns with the focus area. And if you'd like, as Tara just mentioned, we're happy to have a conversation with you to figure out where the best fit is.
Great. On a similar line, for organizations that provide food to students, the only funding avenue is the Lamont Fund for Children and Youth, correct?
It depends, as long as the students are live where the geographic area that is described within the fund.
Okay, another question, a few questions here on Ross Roberts. One is, are the budget levels for the Ross Roberts Fund related to the organization's budget or a specific program's budget.
Organization's budget.
Thank you. And then it looks like someone was maybe having trouble when clicking on the grants portal under Ross Roberts, the CIF application comes up. So just we will clarify before we send out our response email today that all 3 of these fund cycles are open and available when clicking that same grant application portal link. Okay, what ages qualify for the Aging CIF fund? I don't know if we've seen that question.
I don't think so either. I think that I think it's based on how your organization defines aging within Northern Virginia. And actually that's a very interesting question for us as we are planning our event for 2020, for Shape of the Region for 2023, as we are learning a lot about how we define aging and growing older within Northern Virginia. So I think it's how you self-define your population that you're serving. And we look forward to learning from you.
Excellent. When is the grant award meant to be utilized? Is it between April 23rd and February 24th? So some clarification on that.
So it should be utilized basically before the end of the next fiscal year. So you'll be awarded in May, basically. And then for us, it's by June 30 of 2024.
For the environment fund, to clarify, are public school systems covered under the government entity umbrella?
So unfortunately, schools are not do not qualify for CIF. For the environment fund or for arts, they could apply, especially under the description that the environment fund of partnering with a government entity. So it could work.
I think that's the question at large. For an organization to partner with a government entity, if they're partnered with a school, does that qualify as the partner?
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yes, for sure. That could be a partner as long as you, the 501c3 is applying, and if you're partnering with school, for sure, not a problem.
Great. Okay, is there any preference from grantors for the arts grant, whether the choice is project versus general operating?
There's no preference, and either is going to be accepted.
Are there any other financial documents that will need to be submitted in the application?
So when you look at the application, it will state what we're asking from budgeting perspective. It will be around, you will see on the application. If you have any questions, let us know.
Is there a PDF version of the grant application that we can use to help draft answers before submitting via the portal? I think there can absolutely be a PDF, but also, if I understand correctly, you can be working in there and saving drafts before you submit.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yes.
And can you also share the drafts with others on your team to review them too?
Yes.
Okay. So there are some options here that we can do. We can certainly make a PDF version, but you also can do that sharing and drafting within the portal before anything gets submitted. Okay. Are you also funding new nonprofits? Someone who has no profile at this point on Charity Navigator, will it impact the application from getting funded?
So I would say if you would like to submit an application, we'd love learning about new organizations, and it would be great for our committee to learn about new organizations. I will say it's very competitive, and in some cases, the committee has made the decision to fund a newer organization. In other cases, they've decided to fund an organization that has a longer track record. What I would say is that you must have have the status of a 501c3, and I would also suggest that you've been in existence for at least a year to demonstrate that you have some type of experience to reflect on and to talk about what you've done and what you're hoping to do with the funding.
Great. I'm scrolling through since it is almost 11:30 and I want to be conscientious of everyone's time here. There are a number of questions here about specific organizations and your past history, so please do feel free to reach out about that.
Can I make one comment about that actually?
Yes.
So oftentimes we get the question, should we apply if we haven't received funding over the past, let's say, 3 to 5 years? I would say that every year there is a new committee making new decisions. And so if you have the capacity within your organization to apply, I would encourage you to do so. However, I understand that if you have not received funding from us historically and you just don't have the capacity at this time, that's a very understandable experience. Also knowing that it's very competitive as well.
And in the application, someone is logged in already to the application. There are pull downs for funding category and focus area. Is that still correct? I thought CIF was becoming general operating, so just want to be sure I'm understanding it correctly.
Yes, it is correct. They just, depending on the category they're applying in, they just need to state what specific focus area applies to the category they've selected.
Okay, a couple of last questions here. Since the minimum grant for CIF is 15,000, is there a limit on what percentage of an applicant's budget that you, so in other words,
Yes.
if a nonprofit has a budget of $50,000, is that nonprofit still eligible? Is there any?
We do, at this point, we
requirement
do
on
not have criteria around that. It is up to you to, I think, make a decision. I know for a fact that the committee will not want to fund the majority of your budget. So think about that, but we have no percentages around criteria around percentages of your budget.
Great. Since we're past 11:30, I will download all of the questions that have come in here since that we may not have had a chance to answer. We'll try to put together some basic FAQs based on that we'll include in the email that we send to all of you following today's session. And again, we have the contact details on the screen too, so please feel free to reach out. And we appreciate your joining us. Thank you
Thank
to
you.
Sari and Jennifer and Moses and Alex here on the team as well for your support. And thank you to all of you for the work you do in the community. We are grateful.
Thank you very much.